Hey there, welcome back to What's Your Take? I'm WYT and today we're going to talk about the NBA Finals. As a Boston Celtics fan, you can't tell on my poster, Kevin Garnett on the Boston Celtics, where he won a championship for the Boston Celtics in 2008, which was their last championship. But this Celtics team could not get it done because the Warriors were just finals experience. You could tell they had been to the finals before, and they were not nervous like the Celtics. I thought the Celtics were nervous. You could tell throughout the series they were getting tense. Game 4, man. That is what did them in with Steph Curry's 43 points, which we'll get into later with that. But let's focus on Game 6. Warriors win 103-90 against the Boston Celtics. Steph Curry, he went 12 for 21 from the field, 6 for 11 from threes, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and he had 34 points. He was a +8 when he was on the court. So when he was on the court, they're guaranteed 8 points, and he just took over this series. The last game he didn't even play good, and the Warriors still won. But it wasn't for Steph Curry, I think the Celtics would have won this series, especially after the first game, where they played their best game of the series, and as the series went on, they played worse. But Steph Curry had 34 points. Andrew Wiggins, who is, I think, the second best player on the Warriors in this series. Obviously, the second best player is Klay Thompson on this team, but Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the Warriors in this series because he shut down Jason Tatum for most of the series. He had 18 points on 7 for 18 from the field and 4 for 9 from the three-point range. He was a +5 when on the court. So, guaranteed 5 points when he's on the court. For the Celtics, Jason Tatum only had 13 points. Credit to Wiggins. Like I said, his defensive game shut him down. Tatum went 6 for 18 from the field, 1 for 4 from threes. Where Al Horford stepped up in the second half. That's when they made their run. They were down 10, and they got like 6 at one point. But Al Horford came in and went 6 for 8 from the field, 4 for 5 from three-point range. And that's what brought him back in the third quarter. 3 for 3 from the free throw line, had 14 rebounds and 19 points. And you got to feel for Al Horford because he's been in the league for so long. And he had that first game where he had like 26 and he had the playoff game of his life. And he makes it all the way to finals and to lose. That sucks. Robert Williams had 10 points, 7 rebounds, had 5 blocks though. Imagine if Robert Williams was healthy. He would have been a beast, and he was still a beast with a bummed up knee. But Jaylen Brown, he has really showed me a lot in this series. He showed me a lot because, I thought he was like inconsistent sometimes, especially last year. He'd score like 30 points one game, then 12 or 10 the next game. But this year, especially in the finals, even though they lost, he showed me that he could really step up. But they needed both Brown and Tatum. And Tatum just couldn't come through in this. I'm sorry. And I love Tatum. He's one of my favorite players. But he just could not come through in these finals. But Brown at least kept it close for him. Had 34 points, 12 for 23 from the field, 5 for 11 for threes, and 5 for 6 from the three-point line. He had 7 rebounds and 3 assists. He was only a +1 on the floor. But Brown really stepped it up. And Tatum just, I don't know, he just struggled in this series, man. But you got to give it to Wiggins for shutting him down. Golden State, Draymond actually played good for once in this series. He had 12 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Klay Thompson really struggled in this series, I thought. But he's still Klay Thompson. I mean, he scored like at least 15, some of his worst games. But I don't know, coming back from being injured for 2 years and coming back. Watch out next year. Klay Thompson is going to be a beast, just like he was before his injuries, and it's going to be. I mean, the Warriors are going to be tough to beat, really tough to beat. I think next year, and they were tough this year to beat. And Thompson was hobbling most of the season. He shot 5 for 20, 2 for 8 from 3, and scored. Oh wow! He only scored 12 points. Only scored 12 points. But that's the crazy thing about the Warriors is like they have weapons on all ends of the court. I mean, you had Gary Payton. He came off at 6. Jordan Poole came off the bench and scored 15, which is crazy that the beginning of the playoffs, when they played the Denver Nuggets, Curry was coming off the bench and Jordan Poole was starting. And he was dropping like 20, 25, maybe 27 some games. And then they switch roles and Curry goes off and he starts and goes off, especially in the finals. And Poole comes off the bench and gives him 15. I mean, this team is just stacked, man. But I don't think Game 6 is... Obviously, Game 6 was a do or die for the Celtics, and they just couldn't do it. What killed them was the second quarter. The Warriors outscored them 27-17 in the second quarter. They went on that 21-0 run they went on at the beginning of the game. Curry barely even scored. I don't think he even scored. And they still put it to the Celtics. And you can blame it on Tatum for not shooting well, and he did look tired as the game went on. Like, he just couldn't get his legs underneath him, and he wasn't making shots. But that's what you got to do. When you go that deep in the playoffs, you got to fight through fatigue, through the pain, and just try to come out with the win. But they couldn't. But what I thought what really hurt the Celtics was they were the best defensive team, and they didn't show it in the finals at the very end. I thought they lacked energy at some points in that game last night. But Al Horford kind of brought them back and put life back into them. But, I mean, the Warriors were the ones that showed up on the defensive end. They looked like they had the best defensive team all season when it was the Celtics. The Warriors shot 41% from the field. Celtics shot 42. 3-pointers. The Warriors went 19 for 46. Celtics 11 for 28. And that's 41% for the Celtics, or 41% for the Warriors, 39% for the Celtics. Free throws. The Celtics made 91% of their free throws, and the Warriors made 100%. Gosh. Rebounds. The Warriors out rebounded them 44 to 41. Assists. They were both tied at 27. But here is what did them in. The Warriors had 17 turnovers, but the Celtics had 23 turnovers. What did people say at the beginning of the season? What were the Celtics struggling with on chemistry when they were like 10th in the East? They were turning the ball over. And they turned the ball over in the playoffs too. But they were able to get away with it because they didn't play as good as teams as the Warriors. And they just kept turning the ball over. The announcers last night for the game kept saying how the Celtics weren't moving the ball and they go one-on-one. And they were doing, and they did. When they did that, they turned the ball over. Tatum and Brown, trying to force things, or even Smart will try to do his own thing. And they got to swing the ball, move the ball around. And they didn't do that. And they forced 23 turnovers. They didn't force, the Warriors forced 23 turnovers. And the Celtics gave them 23 turnovers. Points off turnovers. The Warriors, of those 23, the Warriors scored 27 points. And the Celtics scored 20. But I think that was the biggest factor in the game was the turnovers, besides Curry. Curry was the biggest factor that led the Warriors. I mean, if you told me Klay Thompson was only going to have 12, you think, man, they're not going to win. If Klay Thompson's only going to score 12 points, go 2 for 8 for 3. But Steph Curry has stepped up. That's why he won MVP. He basically carried his team on his back. hopefully the Celtics, they'll learn from this. Obviously, they'll learn from this and come back stronger next season. But man, this was like a big window for them with the Warriors. They had some injuries. Steph actually wasn't shooting that good at the end of the season, but playoffs come and it's like, we're ready. The Warriors say, and we got this. And they did. I mean, they won. So, but the game that did them in, the Celtics, was Game 4. They needed that. And the Celtics would have won that. I would say the Celtics would have won last night and won the NBA championship. They would have been up 3-1. They would have gave the next game away, still up 3-2, and then close it out at home. But Curry just went off. Made like 7 threes. Scored 43 points. He willed his team to a win. And that's what MVPs do. League MVPs and NBA Finals MVPs. And he showed why he's a 2-time MVP, league MVP, and then why he deserved the NBA Finals MVP this year. So, overall, another great NBA basketball season, but yeah, the Celtics fan hurts. Did not win another championship. But at least the Lakers didn't win. But congrats to the Warriors for winning the 2022 NBA championship, and Curry for winning the MVP and getting his 4th ring. Getting not just him, but Draymond and Clay, their 4th rings, and carrying his team to the W. So stay tuned for more on What's Your Take. We'll probably going to get into some baseball here now. Still talk NBA and obviously football. So stay tuned for What's Your Take.